Thank you so much for hitting the play button on your favorite listening device of choice from wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Duff Tyler, and this is A Duff Said. Now, if you are hearing this podcast for the very first time, welcome aboard. You can catch up on previous episodes of this podcast by going to my website, aduffsaid.com. You can also listen to the show by downloading the Podbean app or just go to wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, I am on somewhat of a summer break for the next few weeks, but there is still time to open up the vault. Now, this week, I wanted to share my all-time favorite story. This story actually made it into a Hall of Fame. We'll get to that in a second, but let's rewind the clock back to 2015. That winter, I went to a boys' basketball game at Holly High School. One of the first things that I noticed when I walked into the gym, there was something unique about the school's nickname. Like any good journalist, I wanted to discover its origins. So in May of 2016, photojournalist Jonathan France and I went to Holly High School, and here now is my masterpiece. This story is brought to you by the letter H. Because here at Holly High School in Holly, Michigan,
and it's all about the H.
You don't have to look far to find one. They wear it with pride. They walk on it every hour in the hallway. This one right here, it used to be part of the hardwood. And if you turn to the right, you'll see the school's Hall of Fame. There's a lot of history in that hollowed corridor. There's little doubt you are in Bronco country. Okay, hold on a second. This spells Broncos? What is this H doing here? And who the H put it here?
In 1945, Bruce Dreyer, along with his fellow student council members, decided that it would be important that we have a nickname.
So what do they call you guys?
Broncos.
Broncos, but it's spelled Bronchos.
So?
And there actually is Broncos spelling in the dictionary with an H.
Now my phone here, it thinks we're in Denver because it keeps wanting to spell Broncos the same way the defending Super Bowl champs do. But there is a perfectly good explanation as to why there's an H in the name. I'll let these guys spell it out for you.
B-R-O-N-C-H-O-S, Broncos, Holly Broncos, let's go!
It's because when you sing a little fight song ditty, B-R-O-N-C-H-O-S, it just flows better with an H than without an H.
Bruce Dreyer wanted something unique when he was looking for his school's nickname. Well, what he came up with has been turning heads even in this town for decades.
The Holly Bronchos. I think it sounds a lot like nachos. They always say it's Bronchos, and I always have to correct them, but it's kind of funny.
The H may be silent.
H stands for Holly.
But their fans are not.
I love Holly!
Holly is where the heart is. Now, speaking of Bruce Dreyer, sadly, he died in March of 2014, just 2 months to the day after his induction into the Holly High School Hall of Fame. Now, if you go to the Holly Athletics page, hollyathletics.org, you can read about Bruce Dreyer and other members of the school's Hall of Fame. And right above Bruce Dreyer's picture on that page is the link to the story that you just heard. That's right. I'm in the Holly High School Hall of Fame. Sort of. And to the people of Holly High School, I cannot thank you enough for the honor of including me with some of the legends that have worn the H at Holly High School. It was a thrill to tell this story back then, and it's a thrill to add more to it now. You see, when Bruce Dreyer was working on getting the nickname for Holly High School, he did exhaustive research because he wanted a mascot that no one else had. During his search, the first name that was crossed off the list was Tigers. There was no way in H that Holly was going to take on the nickname of rival Fenton. These two schools have been going at it for 100 years on the gridiron and the hardwood, and there was not to be any similarities between the two at all. In fact, in 1938, a local man offered to buy uniforms for the high school marching band, but he had one condition. They could not be the same color as Fenton's orange and black. And so that's how Holly's colors became scarlet and gray. Now, they just needed the nickname to complete their identity. Ultimately, in 1946, The vote at the school came down to two possibilities: Broncos or Cardinals. Obviously, as you've heard, Broncos won out. Now, as you heard in my story, Webster's Dictionary did spell Bronco with an H because that was the norm in how to spell it that way in the 1940s. It's a little-known fact also that Holly isn't the only school that spells Broncos with an H. 3 other schools in Oklahoma, Bethany and Odessa High School and the University of Central Oklahoma, all call themselves Broncos, and they spell it with an H. Which takes me now to my home state of Indiana. That's where you'll find the Lafayette Jefferson Bronchos. Legend has it that those Broncos came to be in 1916. A seamstress was tasked with making the school's athletic gear. Apparently, she thought Broncos was spelled with an H. And so when everybody got their letter sweaters, they were spelled Broncos with an H. People were confused, but nobody wanted to tell the town's Betsy Ross that she just goofed up big time, and so the nickname just stuck. But as for Holly, Dreyer said it was just the perfect fit because everybody liked Broncos with an H. H stands for Holly. Now you know the whole story, and now it's time to get the H out of here. And that's a wrap on this edition of A Duff Said. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more A Duff Said, be sure to check out my website, aduffsaid.com. A Duff Said can be heard by downloading the Podbean app or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow me on Facebook. Just go to Sports Journalist Duff Tyler on Facebook. You can also hit me up on Twitter, @DuffTyler. Until next time, I am Duff Tyler, and I'm reminding you that if Duff said it, it must be true, because that's what a Duff said.